I never thought browsing Reddit late at night would lead me down such a terrifying path. It started innocently enough. I was scrolling through r/no sleep, looking for some spooky stories to give me a thrill before bed. Little did I know, I was about to stumble upon something that would change my life forever. As I scrolled, one particular post caught my eye. The title read, "I found a hidden subreddit that I wish I'd never discovered." Intrigued, I clicked on it, expecting another creepypasta or urban legend. But as I read, a chill ran down my spine. The story seemed too real, too detailed to be fiction. The author described finding a mysterious subreddit that could only be accessed at exactly 3:33 a.m. They claimed that the content there was unlike anything they'd ever seen, posts that seemed to predict real-world events, users who knew things they shouldn't, and terrifying images that moved on their own. I shook my head, telling myself it was just a well-written story. But something about it nagged at me. I glanced at the clock, 3:28 a.m. Without really thinking about it, I decided to test the author's claims, just for fun. I typed in the subreddit name they'd mentioned, r/333truth. Nothing came up. I refreshed the page at 3:33 a.m. exactly, my heart racing despite my skepticism. Suddenly, my screen went black. For a moment, I thought my computer had crashed. Then, slowly, text began to appear, as if someone was typing it in real time. "Welcome, seeker. You've found us. But are you ready for the truth?" My mouth went dry. This had to be an elaborate prank, right? Some kind of virus or hack. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. The air in my room felt heavier, colder. I scrolled down, my eyes widening at the content. The posts were unlike anything I'd ever seen on Reddit. Users with impossibly old account ages discussing events that hadn't happened yet. Images that seemed to shift and change as I looked at them. And comments that seemed directed at me personally. One caught my eye. "We've been waiting for you, my real name. Your journey begins now." I slammed my laptop shut, my heart pounding. How did they know my name? I hadn't even logged in. For days after, I tried to convince myself it was all a dream or a hallucination brought on by lack of sleep. But strange things kept happening. I'd catch glimpses of shadowy figures out of the corner of my eye. My phone would ring with no caller ID, and when I answered, I'd hear whispers in languages I didn't understand. A week after my late-night Reddit experience, I was walking home from work when I noticed someone following me. I quickened my pace, but they matched it. Just as I was about to break into a run, they called out, "Wait. I know about r/333truth. We need to talk." I spun around, facing a woman with wild eyes and disheveled hair. "Who are you? How do you know about that?" She glanced around nervously. "Not here. They might be listening. Come with me." Against my better judgment, I followed her to a small cafe. As we sat down, she introduced herself as Sarah. "I found that subreddit 2 months ago," she whispered. At first, I thought it was exciting having access to hidden knowledge, seeing things others couldn't. But then, she trailed off, her eyes filling with tears. "Then what?" I prompted, leaning in. "They started asking me to do things. Terrible things. Said it was the price of knowledge. When I refused..." She rolled up her sleeve, revealing a strange symbol carved into her skin. They marked me. Said they'd come for me soon. I felt the blood drain from my face. What do they want? Sarah shook her head. I don't know. But I think suddenly, every electronic device in the cafe went haywire. Phones blared static, lights flickered, and the TV on the wall crackled to life, displaying a familiar message: seekers of truth, your time has come. Sarah grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. They've found us. We have to go. Now. We ran out of the cafe, the sound of chaos erupting behind us. As we sprinted down the street, I saw shadows moving in impossible ways, stretching and twisting to follow us. What do we do? I gasped as we ran. There's a safe place, Sarah panted. A hidden location I found mentioned in one of the posts. If we can make it there, we might be able to dash. Her words were cut off by a deafening screech. The street lights above us exploded in a shower of sparks. In the sudden darkness, I felt something grab my ankle, pulling me down. Sarah! I screamed, reaching out blindly. Her hand found mine, pulling me up. Don't look back. Just run. We tore through the streets, the sounds of pursuit growing ever closer. Strange symbols began appearing on the walls around us, glowing with an eerie light. The air grew thick with an acrid smell, making it hard to breathe. Finally, we reached an old, abandoned building. Sarah pulled me inside, slamming the door behind us. This is it, she gasped. The safe place. As my eyes adjusted to the dim light, I saw that the walls were covered in the same symbols I'd seen on the subreddit. In the center of the room stood an old computer. What now? I asked, my voice shaking. Sarah approached the computer, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. We have to log in. It's our only chance to understand what's happening, to maybe stop it. But what if it makes things worse? She turned to me, her eyes filled with a mix of fear and determination. We don't have a choice. They're already coming for us. At least this way, we might have a chance. As if to emphasize her point, we heard a loud bang from outside. They had found us. Sarah quickly typed in a complex series of commands. The computer hummed to life, its screen filling with streams of data I couldn't understand. What is all this? I asked, moving closer. I don't know, but Sarah's words were cut short as the screen suddenly went black. Then, slowly, text began to appear. Congratulations, seekers. You've made it to the next level. But are you prepared for what comes next? The banging on the door grew louder. Sarah and I exchanged a terrified look. Do we answer? I whispered. Sarah nodded grimly. We've come this far. We have to see it through. With trembling fingers, she typed, "We're ready." The response was immediate, then let the true game begin. Suddenly, the room around us began to shift and warp. The walls seemed to breathe, the symbols pulsing with an otherworldly light. I felt a strange sensation, as if reality itself was bending around us. Sarah, what's happening? I cried out, reaching for her. But as our hands touched, I felt her dissolve, like smoke slipping through my fingers. The last thing I heard was her voice, now distant and echoing, "Remember, no matter what you see, no matter what they tell you, don't believe everything. The truth is out there, but it's not what you think." And then, in a blink, I was alone. The room was gone. I found myself in a place I couldn't describe, a void that was somehow full of everything and nothing all at once. In the distance, or perhaps right next to me, distance seemed meaningless here, I heard voices. Whispers of secrets and truths that mankind was never meant to know. I saw flashes of events, past, present, and future all mixed together. I don't know how long I floated in that impossible space. It could have been minutes or millennia. But eventually, I felt a pull, as if something was dragging me back. I opened my eyes to find myself back in my room, sitting in front of my computer. The clock read 3:34 a.m. Had it all been a dream? But then I noticed something on my screen, a new message notification. With shaking hands, I clicked on it. Welcome back, Seeker. Your journey has only just begun. The next phase awaits. Are you ready to go deeper? As I stared at the message, I realized that my late-night Reddit browsing had led me into something far beyond my understanding. Something that blurred the lines between reality and nightmare, truth and fiction. And I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to my core, that this was only the beginning. Whatever I had stumbled into, whatever forces I had alerted to my presence, they weren't done with me yet. The real question was, how far down this rabbit hole was I willing to go? And more importantly, would I be able to find my way back out? As these thoughts raced through my mind, I heard a soft knock at my door. 3 distinct taps. Tap. 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 I froze, my eyes fixed on the door handle as it slowly began to turn. The door creaked open, revealing nothing but darkness beyond. My heart pounded in my chest as I stared into the void, waiting for something to emerge. Seconds stretched into eternity, the silence broken only by my ragged breathing. Suddenly, a hand shot out of the darkness, pale and elongated, its fingers unnaturally long. I stumbled backward, knocking over my chair as I scrambled away from the door. The hand was followed by an arm, then a shoulder, as a figure slowly emerged from the shadows. What stepped into my room defied description. It was humanoid, but wrong in ways my mind struggled to comprehend. Its limbs were too long, its head misshapen, and its skin seemed to ripple and shift like static on an old TV screen. What are you? I managed to choke out, my back pressed against the far wall. The creature's head tilted at an impossible angle, and when it spoke, its voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. We are the guardians of the 333 truth. You have glimpsed beyond the veil, and now you must choose. Choose what? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. To continue down the path of knowledge, or to forget everything you've seen. But be warned, Seeker, there is no true forgetting. The truth will haunt you, even if you turn away now. I thought of Sarah, of the terror in her eyes and the mark on her arm. I thought of the impossible things I'd seen in that void. Part of me wanted to choose forgetting, to go back to my normal life. But a larger part, the part that had always been curious, that had clicked on that Reddit post in the first place, knew I couldn't turn back now. I want to know more, I said, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. The creature nodded, its form shimmering like a mirage. Then prepare yourself. The journey ahead is not for the faint of heart. It raised one of its distorted hands, and suddenly, symbols like the ones I'd seen before appeared in the air around us, glowing with an eerie light. They began to spin, faster and faster, until they were a blur of luminescent energy. I felt a pull, as if the very fabric of reality was warping around me. The walls of my room seemed to melt away, replaced by swirling patterns of light and shadow. I heard whispers, countless voices speaking in languages I'd never heard before, all overlapping into a cacophony of sound. When the world finally stopped spinning, I found myself standing in what looked like an ancient library. Towering bookshelves stretched as far as the eye could see, filled with tomes bound in materials I couldn't identify. The air was thick with the scent of old paper and something else, something metallic and vaguely unsettling. "Welcome to the archives of truth," the creature said, its form now more solid but still unnervingly alien. "Here, all knowledge is stored, past, present, and future. But be warned, some truths are not meant for mortal minds." As if to emphasize its point, I heard a scream in the distance, a sound of pure anguish that made my blood run cold. "What was that?" I asked, my voice shaking. Another seeker, unprepared for the weight of knowledge. Not all who come here leave with their sanity intact. I swallowed hard, suddenly questioning my decision. But before I could voice any doubts, the creature gestured towards the shelves. "You may browse freely, but choose carefully what you read. Each book contains truths that will change you irreversibly." With that, it vanished, leaving me alone in the vast, impossible library. For what felt like hours, I wandered the aisles, running my fingers along the spines of books with titles in languages I couldn't read. Eventually, I came across a section that seemed to call to me. The books here were bound in a material that looked unsettlingly like human skin, their titles written in a script that hurt my eyes to look at directly. Against my better judgment, I reached out and pulled one from the shelf. As soon as my fingers touched it, I felt a jolt of energy course through me. Images flashed through my mind, glimpses of cosmic horrors beyond human comprehension, of realities where the laws of physics were mere suggestions, of beings so vast and ancient that our entire universe was but a fleeting thought to them. I dropped the book, gasping for air, my mind reeling from what I'd seen. But even as terror gripped me, I felt an insatiable hunger for more. I reached for another book, then another, each one revealing truths more mind-bending than the last. I learned of hidden dimensions intersecting with our own, of secret societies that had shaped human history from the shadows, of creatures that lived in the spaces between moments. With each revelation, I felt my perception of reality crumbling, replaced by a new understanding that was both terrifying and exhilarating. But as I delved deeper into the forbidden knowledge, I began to notice changes in myself. My reflection in the polished surfaces of the library showed a face that was subtly altered, my eyes a bit too wide, my smile a bit too sharp. And sometimes, when I wasn't paying attention, I could swear my shadow moved independently of me. I don't know how long I spent in that impossible library. Time seemed to have no meaning there. But eventually, I felt a presence behind me. I turned to find the creature that had brought me here. "You have learned much, Seeker," it said, its voice resonating in my bones. "But now comes the true test. Are you ready to join us?" "Join you?" I asked, my voice hoarse from disuse. "What do you mean?" The creature's form shifted, revealing glimpses of realities beyond my comprehension. To become a guardian of truth, to help guide others down this path of knowledge. But be warned, to accept is to leave your old life behind forever. I thought of my family, my friends, the normal life I'd left behind. But after what I'd learned, how could I ever go back? How could I pretend the world was simple and understandable when I now knew the terrifying complexity of reality? I accept, I heard myself say, the words feeling both foreign and inevitable. The creature nodded, and I felt a searing pain in my arm. Looking down, I saw a symbol forming on my skin, the same mark I'd seen on Sarah. As the pain faded, I felt a rush of power and knowledge flooding through me. "Welcome, Guardian," the creature said. "Now, let us return. There are new seekers to guide." In a blink, we were back in my room. But it was different now. Symbols glowed faintly on the walls, and I could see thin threads of energy connecting everything, the hidden framework of reality visible to my new perception. I sat down at my computer, logging into Reddit. But now, I could access parts of it hidden from normal users. I saw posts from people standing at the threshold of truth, just as I had been not so long ago. With fingers that seemed to move of their own accord, I began to type. I found a hidden subreddit that will change your life forever. But be warned, once you start down this path, there's no turning back. As I hit post, I felt a mix of excitement and dread. I was now part of something bigger than myself, a guardian of terrible truths. And as I settled into my new role, I couldn't help but wonder, how many more would follow in my footsteps? How many would lose themselves in the pursuit of knowledge? But those were questions for another time. For now, I had work to do. The truth was out there, and it was my job to guide others to it, for better or for worse. In the corner of my room, my shadow stretched and twisted, taking on a life of its own. And as I turned to look at it, I saw not my own reflection, but something else, something ancient and unknowable, peering back at me from the depths of reality itself. I smiled, my two sharp teeth glinting in the dim light. The night was young, and there were so many truths yet to be revealed. Let the seekers come. I was ready for them. As I turned back to my computer, I heard a faint whisper, a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. The game has only just begun. And with those words echoing in my mind, I dove back into the digital abyss, ready to guide the next unsuspecting soul down the rabbit hole of cosmic horror and forbidden knowledge. After all, misery loves company, and in the realm of eldritch truths, we were all in for a wild, terrifying ride. The cursor blinked on my screen, waiting for my next move. Outside, the world slept on, blissfully unaware of the terrors that lurked just beyond the veil of reality. But for those of us who knew, for those of us who had seen, there was no going back. The truth was out there, and it was hungry for new minds to corrupt, new souls to enlighten. And I, in my new role as a guardian of truth, was all too happy to oblige. As I began typing my next post, I felt the weight of countless realities pressing down on me, the whispers of eldritch beings echoing in my ears. But I didn't fear them anymore. I had become one with the truth, a conduit for knowledge beyond human comprehension. And as the first rays of dawn began to creep through my window, I couldn't help but smile. Another night, another seeker to guide. The cycle would continue, endless and eternal, until the very fabric of reality unraveled at the seams. But that was a problem for another day. For now, I had work to do. The truth was calling, and I was its willing servant. "Welcome, seekers," I typed, my fingers flying across the keyboard. "Are you ready to see beyond the veil? The truth was out there, and it was waiting for you."